Need anything?
No, sir. Yeah, the girls come. A couple of them come in last night. Sorry. They were upset about it. Yeah, the girls come. A couple of them come in last night. Sorry. They were upset about it. Really? I didn't know if you was live or not.
We are.
All right. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the fourth episode of The Zone's All Access, hosted by the Sports Center. This episode, we'll be talking softball with Cumberland Gap head coach Jeremiah Bean. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
But first, I need to say thank you to Rex and the Sports Center for hosting, and to our team of partners that allow us the opportunity to recognize our students and athletes. Thank you, First Century Bank, for supplying our communications. All right, Coach Jeremiah, what all did you play in high school?
I played basketball mainly. I played a lot of pickup football and baseball and softball, but I was primarily a basketball guy.
Mm-hmm.
Played at Powell Valley in the mid-'90s under Coach Dennis Klein.
Did you come through the Little League baseball ranks or as an athlete? Or
I started playing basketball when I was in second grade, I think, at Powell Valley. Rodney Woods was the coach down there then, played at UT and coached at Powell Valley. And my first word my mother said was ball, actually before my mom or dad. So that was pretty much instilled for me at birth. So ball was my first word, and I love sports no matter what the sport is, but probably my big three is basketball, baseball, and football, softball.
Yeah. Did you get to play college ball?
I went to LMU, actually, played there for a year or two under Coach Rasmussen, but I actually was supposed to went to Walter State directly out of high school and did not, and then went to Walter State, wanted to stay close to home. Actually, believe it or not, I was very backward growing up, bashful, and did not want to take speech class, and that kept me from going to Walter State because they put me in a class there, and I decided to just stay close to home, went to LMU, and here we are now.
Okay. What all did you learn by being an athlete that helps you to coach?
The biggest thing I think I've learned is just be accountable. Try to always do the right thing, whether you're the coach or the player. And sometimes you got to make hard decisions as a coach and as a player that you don't always feel comfortable making, but sometimes it's in the best interest of the player and the team as a whole. Because I know every kid wants to play and every kid deserves to play, but it's not Little League anymore. And I know Little League's a great thing, but you got to play your best players no matter whose kid it is, whether they're freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. And I try to do that and be fair no matter what the situation is.
When did you know that you would like to try coaching and why?
Well, when the guys I played back with in the 90s, a lot of those guys, I just felt like kind of the quarterback of the basketball team. I think I knew the game pretty well, and we didn't call a lot of timeouts or anything. Dennis just let us play through it, and we played a lot of pickup ball and just adjusted on our own. A lot of times he taught us how to do it in practice and expected us to know what to do in the game, and I wasn't always the greatest athlete, wasn't the fastest or the most athletic or the strongest, so I always had to work harder than anybody else because if I wanted to play, I knew I had to work because I was not the best athlete, and thought I was a pretty smart kid playing the sports, but like I said, I was not the best athlete. I was probably the least among the five that I played with on the starters.
Okay, what was your first opportunity to coach?
Basketball-wise, I worked some camps and different things right out of high school and then college with Dennis at Powell Valley, but my first high school or coaching opportunity for basketball was with Ernie Mac Clausen, my first cousin at H.Y. Livesey. and I was an assistant coach there, and gave me that excitement. It was probably 21 or 22 years ago. I think Allie was 3 or 4, and so we kind of went from there. But softball wise, I was given 12 3-year-olds when Elena was about 3 or 4 year old, and they said, "Here you go." And I'm like, I have never coached softball or anything like this in my life. I played pickup baseball with all the baseball guys and things, but I was a basketball guy and just tried to learn. Watch the sport. I watch the Braves all the time. I'm a Braves fan, so I know it's different than softball. Watch the UT and try to learn something from the game. Watch videos, training, have a lot of coaching friends in this coaching profession that I'll reach out to and say, "Hey, what would you do in this situation?" Whether it's even basketball or they're a baseball guy or softball guy, or just in general, to see how they would handle a situation like in a game, or even a situation about a player or former player or being recruited or anything like that.
Coach, what would you say the ultimate goal of coaching is?
I always tell my kids that, first of all, I want them to be a good person and take something that they've learned from me and use it in life. Because it's not always about wins and losses, but if you can be better today than you were yesterday and try to improve throughout that. And I don't look at wins and losses a lot, especially in softball. I think I told you earlier, probably the best team I ever had was Elena's team when she was a senior, and I think they were 22-9. But I think we started out like 2-7, 3-7, and they won like 20 of their next 23 games. So I don't really look at the record, especially the first 7, 8, 10 games, because we play a tough schedule and tough division. But I just want the girls to feel they've improved from each game, and by the end of the year, when they're going into the district tournaments or whatever, that they've learned something and that they've improved.
Okay, who influenced you or helped you become a coach?
Well, my dad was my coach growing up in Little League and stuff, but I would probably have to. I've mentioned Dennis a lot, but I just really admired Dennis Klein growing up. He was pretty even keel. He didn't yell and scream. Now I'm a little more intense than he was on the basketball court, but even in softball, my daughters tell me I've mellowed out. But I said I think that comes with age. As you get older, you realize that there's a lot of the kids that are there to have fun and grow in life, and they can learn something by just being a part of a team. And it's not so much about wins and losses. But I've had some good coaches. I had some great college coaches at LMU. I had some good high school coaches. DeLynn Klein, too. He was a football coach, but we were friends and still are to this day. And Dennis was pretty much my basketball coach from 4th grade through 12th grade. So I had him. I didn't have a lot of variety, but we bonded over the years.
Yeah. Let's transfer now to this current year, this current team. What's your philosophy this year as a softball coach?
Well, we want to win some district games. I've coached years where we did not win some district games. We've been fortunate.
That's a goal, but tell me how you're going to reach that point.
Okay. Well, hopefully with good pitching and good hitting and pretty good defense. Now, we've been fortunate. I've got 3 seniors that play for me. They probably started more games as a trio. Hayden Beeler, my first baseman, she's played pretty much everywhere on the infield. Maddie Stevens is a catcher. She's signed with USC Union to play. I think it's a junior college around Spartanburg. And Lacey Gully, she's my pitcher. She's actually going to Berea College to be a pitcher. Those 3 girls have probably, like I said, started 120 games together, and that's probably more than any kids I've ever had. So that's one good thing that I have going for me is that experience. And pitching, anybody knows anything about softball or baseball, if you have good pitcher and good catcher, you can stay in games. Now, we've got a lot of improvement to do on our defense and our hitting, but Lacey pitches and keeps us in the game. And with Maddie receiving the ball and Hayden out there, she don't say a lot. She just leads by example. Never have, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. She's a great kid. Maddie and Lacey are a little more vocal, but that's okay. You need that sometimes, but sometimes you got to keep them calm too. And they're great leaders. Good academics with Lacey, I know, and Maddie's going to college. And I look at those kids; they do some really good things. Got a lot of young kids this year, Got 16 freshmen and sophomores. And I looked last night, we were playing. I had 3 freshmen on the infield that were out of position and a senior at first base. And then I had a couple sophomores in the outfield. So we basically start 3 seniors and the rest freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah. You've got only a limited amount of time during the week to throw these practices out there. How do you maximize the short period of time you get with your girls?
We usually go for an hour and a half, 2 hour practices. If the weather's bad, we're in the cages, try to get in some hitting and pitching for the girls. If you're on the field, you try to work on defense and where you go. It's just, like I said, you got so many young kids and you try to get plenty of reps in running the bases. I mean, you got to teach a lot of these kids, go from base to base, station to station. As soon as the ball's hit with 2 outs, you got to go. You got to tag up on fly balls, and a lot of that is just from inexperience. And I've got 8 or 10 kids that's played a lot of softball, but I've got 8 or 10 kids that's probably in their first or second year. It's kind of like coaching little league, and I don't mean that as anything bad. It's just you're teaching 4 or 5 kids at the basics,
fundamentals and stuff.
Yeah, and then exactly. You got the next 4 or 5 kids, and then you've got your 8 or 10 kids that's got a lot of experience, but they can still learn something too. So you got to be able to kind of make it where each kid can understand at that different level you're trying to teach.
Okay, what do you look for in your practices that relates to this player needs more playing time?
I don't look at age. I will tell you that. I don't look whether they're a senior or junior or whatever. I don't look at whose child they are. If it's mine and she's good enough, she'll play. If she's not, she won't. But I look at their talent level. I try to look at their attitude, and if they work and they show up and they're at practice and working hard. And just because a child may start tonight and I take them out and don't play them tomorrow night doesn't mean they've done anything wrong. It might be about who's pitching the next day. If they throw harder or throw slower, this day and time, your good players struggle to hit 30 and 40 mile an hour pitching, where your younger kids, that's what they saw coming up through the ranks. And so they adjusted that really well. But a lot of it's attitude, being on practice, but you also have to be a good player. You have to be able to hit, field, and catch.
Okay. I mean, this happens every year to every coach since the beginning of time. How do you handle the parents when it comes to playing time and they're complaining about it? What do you find out is the best way to handle that?
I'm pretty straightforward with my girls at the beginning of the year. My policy on that is I don't talk to parents about playing time. I talk to the players. If they want to know why they're not playing, it's their job. They're becoming young adults to come and talk to me. Now, if a parent comes to me and wants to know what their child can do to improve, I will talk to them. But I'm not going to talk to them if they come yelling and screaming and being rude or demanding something. I just say, you're not at practice, and we handle it a certain way, and we're going to be adults about it, and we're going to handle it the right way. But I understand every child wants to play. I also understand that every parent wants their child to play. I'm a parent as well. But I also know that it teaches that child a lot more if they come and say, Coach, what do I need to do to get better? And I can give them those things to do better. Because softball is not something you can say, I want to play today and just come to practice and be good at. You've got to work at it.
You're leading me into my next question. What's the best advice you can give to a player that thinks she wants more playing time and has earned it?
Travel ball gets a lot of bad names, but being on the field and practicing is the only way you're going to get better. I know, like, we have the thing about having a small school, we have a lot of kids that play multiple sports, as soccer and basketball. I just got Hayden back 2 weeks ago. I mean, basketball ended. She's there. Yeah. Abby Peters, my cheerleader, Lacey, she hadn't really got to throw very much because she's been in cheer and they've been in competition in Florida. Yeah. And Maddie, I'm sorry.
5th place in the nation,
Yeah, 5th place in the nation. Not too bad. Maddie's been kind of banged up this year. She's got a hurt hip and a hurt thumb, and she's just trying to get through that. So, but to get better, you've got to practice. And like I tell these kids, you can't spend an hour or 2 with me a week and get better. You got to do an hour or 2 every day. And I look at something Kobe Bryant always said. He's like, if I'm working out every day for an hour, but I go work out 2 hours every day, I'm going to be twice as good, I think. because I'm getting in twice the reps.
Yeah.
And so I look at my kids. If you want to get better, you got to work at it. If you want to be average, show up when you want to and do what you want to. But if you want to be
along
better,
those lines, you talk about Magic and Bird. They said the same thing. They knew that Magic knew that Bird was out there taking 400 shots, so I have to take 500. I mean, that's the philosophy they need to have.
And that's a great example because I am a very big Larry Bird fan, and I respect Magic Johnson. I was not a Lakers fan, but I do. But that's the key. And Larry Bird, I'm not Larry Bird by no means, but I'm very similar. But he's 6'10", I'm 6'3", but I was slow white guy that could not run and jump, and I had to work. And I remember this. My dad told me this. I went home. I think it was after my freshman year, and I told my dad. I said I didn't make varsity as a freshman. I was 5'5", 145 pounds then. My dad said, "What do you want me to do? Go whip the coach or get him fired?" He's like, "Get your basketball and go out there and work."
Yeah.
And you know what I did? The next year I started as a sophomore with the 3 or 4 guys that I played with. And I probably played as much time in a game and as 2 or 3 different positions as anybody did the next 3 years there. So the work pays off if you put it in.
Yeah. What's your expectations out of every player on your field? On and off.
I want them to make good grades. I want them to, I know this is a sticky subject, but I want them to see the Christ-like person I am in me. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I do get upset and I do make mistakes, but my girls will never hear me use foul language to them. I've told them that. I don't allow that with my girls. I want them to be accountable. I always tell them that. Be accountable, hustle, and give me your best. If you do those 3 things, because you're going to make mistakes. I make them every day, and I tell those girls. And I try. One of my philosophies on coaching, I tell my girls, if you make a mistake, don't let that one mistake lead to 2 or 3. Once you drop the ball, don't throw it away. Don't let it affect your batting or your pitching or your whatever.
But, that's the hard part of it. How do you help them get over those little in-game miscues?
Well, I think with age has helped that. It's helped me to mature, but I just try to talk to the girls. And there's kids that you can fuss at, and you got to know that as a coach. And you've got kids that you got to talk to. You can kind of get onto them.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
I had 2 daughters that played for me. My oldest one, if I fussed at her, she folded. I had to talk to her. But now Elena, the one that helps me coach, she's a little more animated. The madder I could make her, the better she
played.
And like my pitcher's that way. Lacey and me, we may go at it a little bit, but sometimes I'm pushing her to get her going. She throws harder when she's upset, and not to be mean about it, but I can push her a little bit. I can see it on her face when she changes, and it allows her to throw a little bit harder, and she plays better. And some kids are motivated by that. Some people are not, and you got to know which ones are.
Exactly. Let's dig into the team a little bit. How is the team this season so far?
Being honest, our record is 1-4. We played Hancock, who's pretty good, Claiborne, Granger, and Campbell County, and Washburn. We are 2 or 3 innings from being 4-5-1 or 4-5-0. But as I said, we're very young. That's not always an excuse. I think they got to grow up. But I've got 3 or 4 girls that are naturally out of their position. But the 4 or 5 girls that I have in their position, they're stronger there than moving them somewhere else. And I think we're going to get better. Like I said, I don't really look at record the first 10 games. Now, record's important. You don't want to go 0-30. But I also realize we're usually around a 500 team every year, but our district is extremely tough with Gibbs, and we've had Alcoa in the past, and Clinton and Anderson County. And I don't just schedule teams that we can beat. I play local schools that we can travel, but I always try to play all the schools in the area, Granger, Claiborne, and they're a little bigger schools than us, but the only way you get better. You don't get better by playing teams that are not very good.
Well, travel, it's getting out of hand. I mean, they want you to go 3 hours away, and that's not cool.
Well, our district is Anderson County, Clinton, Gibbs, Union County. All those teams are very good, us and Scott County. And I usually schedule Kentucky schools and Virginia schools, and then Claiborne, Campbell, and Granger, and anything local in Tennessee that I can, just because it's easier for a parent to get 30 minutes after work than it is to go an hour and a half to Oak Ridge or somewhere where they have to drive that far to get to a game.
What are the strengths of the 2025 team?
I may have mentioned some of this earlier. Lacey is pitching. She's pitched well enough for us to win all 5 games. I think she's got 43 strikeouts in 5 games, which my Powell Valley math, right? That's little over 8 strikeouts a game. She's hitting the ball really well this year. Maddie's hitting the ball well too. She both those girls play travel ball, so that allows them to be ready a lot of times when they come in. Maddie's got a great arm. Sometimes have to pull her back because she's so far advanced a lot of times, and she knows the ball's going to second. But I've got a kid playing shortstop that's usually a pitcher and a second baseman, but she's probably the best person I've got for that position. Hayden Beeler, once she gets going, is probably my best hitter all around. Once she gets the game going, just a great kid. But at third base, I got Abby Peters. Shortstop, I've got Addison Marlowe. She's a freshman. Got 2 sisters battling for position at second and right field, Savannah and Madison Medley. Outfield, I got Madeline Capps. Izzy Hilton's a really good athlete in center field. She can run. A lot faster than her mother, Laura Welch, if you know her. But she is a good kid. And then you got, I think in left field, we've got a girl from Florida. Her name is Daniela Badali. That's how you pronounce her name. Her dad is the SRO officer at the school. Great kid. And I've got some kids off the bench that help me that are just learning to run. I don't want to name them. I'm sure I'll forget somebody and I'll get fussed at over that. But,
of course, yeah.
But I do not. I've got good kids, and that's the key. That's what I try to tell them. I said, I want you to have fun, first of all. I want you to learn something. And I tell all these girls, I have 4 daughters. I'm like, there's nothing you can tell me or say to me that I've not heard or dealt with in my 24 years of being a parent. And I want them to feel that way with me. But I'm also, I know I'm a dad, I'm a coach, but I'm also a guy. And some of those girls, they may not have that at home, or they may not feel comfortable telling that. So that's always why I try to have a female to help me deal with those situations. Yeah. And I love the kids. I tell them that. I tell them every day. I said, girls, I love you. I'll treat you fair. Now, will I get on to you? Yes, I will. But no matter whether you agree with what my coaching style or philosophy, I'm never going to treat you any different, whether you like it or whether you don't. I will always treat you fairly.
That's good. Weaknesses of the team.
Well, from the first 5 games, we got to work on our hitting. We've had quite a few strikeouts, and the pitching's been good, but it's not pitching that we can't hit or we've not saw before. We've struck out quite a few times, and then we've had 1 or 2 bad innings in a game where it's a close game. And if you have like the other night, we had a game where it was tied, and we had an error, threw 2 errors on 1 play, and it gave up 3 runs, and then the game blew wide open late in the game. So I think we need to work on our defense, and it's just finding the kids to fit in the right place, as well as just got to hit a little better. Other night against Granger, they threw 3 pretty good pitchers, and we hit the ball really well against them. And then the next night you face similar pitching against Claiborne, and we struggled hitting the ball. Played pretty good defensively except for 1 inning, but we just didn't hit as well that night.
What does your team what do they call their main rival now? I know it used to be Claiborne versus the Gap, and then the Claiborne side said, well, it's more of Claiborne Union now. What say ye?
Well, I grew up a Powell Valley boy, and I know you're a Tazewell boy. I have a couple of really good friends from Claiborne County. I still call it Tazewell, but I would still say Tazewell is a really big rival for us, probably for me as a coach it is. And even though I have a lot of friends over here, that's probably my rival. I also have a lot of friends at Campbell County and Middlesboro too, but a lot of those kids, Middlesboro is really close. So I would say it's a close race between, even though they're out of state, between Claiborne and Middlesboro, if I was guessing, just from what I know in coaching softball. And Aaron is a great friend of mine at Middlesboro too, but I know the kids they trash talk and go back and
step
forth.
Step up a little more.
Yeah, and Claiborne does too. I think the boys' baseball teams play tonight, don't they?
I think so. Yeah.
It's at the Gap because they had a good game the other night. But I would still say, to me, it's Claiborne as a coach. But that may be different from the girls just because they have friends and they deal more. I don't do as much social media. I'm still a Facebook guy, so I'm not as advanced with all the other things.
Okay, name some players to watch as this season progresses. who do you think has the potential to really step up?
Well, I call my big three Maddie, Lacey, and Hayden. I know what they're going to
Yeah,
give
you
me.
know that.
I
We all
that,
know that.
I know that what they're going to give me. I think the Marlowe kid at shortstop has done some really good things. I think she's going to be a really good ball player. She can pitch. She can play multiple positions. I also think the Badali kid in left field, Daniela, has got the potential to be a really good high school softball player. They're both freshmen, out of position. They're naturally a catcher and a pitcher, but you got Maddie and Lacey taking that right now. Abby Peters is great defensively, got good hands. She's got to work on her bat, but she's getting there. Got the Medley girls battling for second and right field with Madeline Caps, and they all do some things well. And if you could take them and mold them, because like right now I've got a couple that are struggling to hit, but they're playing really good defensively. You got a couple that's playing really good, that's hitting good, but they're not very strong defensively. And you kind of got to do the flex and do what you can to get it the best 10 or 11 kids you can out there. And that's a struggle as a coach, because I looked at it last night and I'd fought with it all day yesterday. Do you do the flex? Do you not? But you got to do what's best for the team to put them in the best situation. And it knocks a kid out of playing or it doesn't, but you're not out there to make people happy. You got to try your best to put the team in the best situation to win softball games.
And if you do your your coaching job right, they'll understand that.
That's right. And I try to tell them that. I'm like, look, you're not in the lineup, but be ready tonight. It's nothing you've done personally. So-and-so is just playing better now. And basketball is different because your lineups don't change a lot. But softball, your lineup changes if you can change it if you got a left-handed pitcher, if you've got a fast pitcher or a slow pitcher. It can vary just by who you're facing. And it's about matchups, just like in anything you do. And you got to try to put the kids in the best position to get on, get in, get around. So,
okay, we talked about this earlier, but I have my question. I'm going to ask it again. Not in terms of wins and losses. What's a successful season?
I want my girls. I keep going back to this, but I want my girls to have fun, and I've changed over that over the years. I used to say, "Oh, we need to win 20 games." I don't even look at that anymore. I want my girls to have fun. I want them to improve from the beginning each week, but by the end of the year, I want them to be playing their best softball. And that's all you can ask for a coach is if they've learned something and they've improved now. And like our record doesn't show it, but our girls have gradually gotten better each game. Now it has some of those same mistakes pop back up, yes. But then again, you got 13 and 14-year-old kids out there playing with 17 and 18-year-old kids that's been playing for 15 years, and these kids have been playing a year or two. So like I said, I don't look at wins and losses altogether, but I do want them to have fun, get better, and maybe take this down. If losing a softball game is the hardest thing you ever face in life, you've had a pretty good life.
You have.
Because there's going to be a lot tougher situations that arise
we both
in life.
Know that.
Yeah, that we deal with on it. But maybe they can look back and say, we had a little adversity when we were playing so-and-so. And this is not such a big deal. We can get through it.
Okay. What does the program need in terms of equipment, funding, anything like that?
Right now, we have been very blessed to have a great guy who helps us raise money for our president for our Boosters Club. And he sets up things that we can do through different programs. We do the banners and things. And right now, we're doing really well. We've been fortunate to buy uniforms and equipment.
Excuse me.
To run our program every year, I tell everyone it takes about $15,000 or $20,000. That's to buy equipment for the field, uniforms. We feed the kids some. If there's a kid on the team that can't afford something, we try our best to do that. I tell any child, you don't have to put it in our group or whatever they use. Come and talk to me one off. We'll take care of you. The golf tournament we do every year, the fundraiser up there, that gets me money to use. I try to do that every year for the kids. And they're like, why do you do that? I'm like, because it gets us this amount of money to use on the softball field every year. And our facilities have drastically improved. And I've got Tamara and Bobby Pierman and Coach Cochran and some of the students, they chalk the field, take care of the field for me. That's something I don't have to get there an hour and a half before the game to do. And we've been very fortunate to be blessed to have money at the end of the year the last few years, and that's the way in the future, whenever that is, that I want to leave it for whoever is next.
Is there
in
a
line.
piece of equipment, though, that for just a few more $1,000 that would benefit the team?
I would love to have a new pitching machine for the girls softball. Ours is worn out. And those are pretty expensive. I think Nate just bought one for the baseball team, and it's about $4,500. But I just cannot make myself spend that kind of money when I know we could use it to buy something else that we truly need. I would love to have one, but and I'm sure a baseball one costs more than a softball one, but the one we have is worn out, and we very rarely use it because it just throws on speed all the time.
There you go, community. Help them out. Okay, what do you want to say about the team or to Panther Nation?
Come out and support us. We were actually finished for this week. We're going to try and get in maybe a workout or some practice this weekend, maybe Sunday after church. I don't like to practice on weekends, but sometimes you got to. The weather's supposed to be bad, and let the girls get in, give them a couple days rest. Come out and support us. We got 4 or 5 games next week. Come out and watch the girls. They'll give you their best, win or lose. They're going to have fun, and we appreciate the support. We got food, sell hot dogs, got sweatshirts and different things like that to help support the program and make some money for the team and hopefully get a few wins.
Okay. Thank you, Coach Bean. Have a great season, the rest of it anyway. And I'd like to thank our premier partners, Whitaker Insurance Agency, J&S Concrete Pumping, Value RX Pharmacy in Tazewell, Tennessee, Walker & Walker Construction, Stay and Play, Doggy Daycare, and more, and Heartside Bank. And thanks to our huge team of partners, without them we couldn't do anything out here to help our kids. And thanks to First Century Bank for providing our communications. Join me here about 5 o'clock, and I'll have another little episode featuring Matt Robinson and Jake Collinsworth from the new Tazewell Little League. We'll see you then.